10 more South Wales murders. 1. Lynette White, Cardiff, 1988. I'll never forget the cold February night in 1988 when they found Lynette White. She was only 20, working the streets in Cardiff's Butte Town. When she was murdered in the most brutal way inside a small flat on James Street, the police came storming into our neighborhood, and before long, 5 local men were accused. We all thought the nightmare was over, that the killers had been caught. But whispers started. The evidence didn't make sense. The men swore they were innocent. Years passed. Truth finally surfaced. Those men had been wrongly convicted. The real killer, identified decades later through DNA, was a man no one had suspected. For years I carried the weight of knowing we watched innocent men rot in prison, while the true murderer walked free. To Muriel Drinkwater, Swansea, 1946. It was the summer of 1946, a warm June day. 12-year-old Muriel Drinkwater went to pick up some groceries, walking through the woods near her home. I remember joining the search when she didn't come back. When they found her body in Penlergar Woods, I felt my stomach drop. She'd been raped, then shot. In those days, murder was rare in our community, and the thought that someone had done this to a child was almost too much to bear. Even decades later, detectives tried new methods, testing old evidence with DNA. They came close to naming a suspect, but he died before justice could reach him. For me, the image of that little girl lost in the woods has never left my mind. 3. Carol Ann Stevens, Cardiff, 1959, in April 1959. 6-year-old Carol Ann was sent out to the shops in Cardiff. I lived just streets away. She never made it back. I remember her mother's frantic screams, the police going door to door, the whole neighborhood searching. But we never found her. She vanished without a trace. The fear was overwhelming. Parents held their children tighter. Kids were no longer allowed to wander freely. Decades have passed, and the case remains unsolved. I still see her little face in the old photographs, a life frozen in time, unanswered questions hanging heavy over Cardiff. 4. The Blackwood Market Murder, 1995. Blackwood Market on a Friday evening was always busy. I was there in May 1995 when it happened. Among the stalls was Jaswant Sandhu Singh, well-liked, cheerful. Suddenly a loud crack split the air. He'd been shot in the chest. The crowd scattered, screaming, stalls toppling as people ran. I froze, staring at his body lying in the middle of the market. The killer, cool as anything, slipped away in a taxi. We all expected justice, but it never came. No one was ever convicted. To this day, when I walk through that market, I still hear the echo of that gunshot. 5. The Blanavon Double Murder, 1972. It was March 1972, Blanavon. I knew both men, Isaac Hughes, a miner, and James Waite, a retired pensioner. They'd been drinking together in Isaac's home. A few days later, the silence around the house became worrying. When police forced their way inside, the scene was horrifying. Both men were dead. Blood soaked the walls and gouges were carved into the ceiling where the fight had broken out. There were no signs of forced entry. It had to be someone they trusted. But the case went cold, and the killer was never found. Even now, when I pass that street, I feel a chill knowing their murderer walked away free. 6. Christina Macari, 1941. Wartime Wales was hard enough. But nothing prepared us for what happened in May 1941. 3-year-old Christina Macari disappeared while playing. Hours later, her tiny body was found in a plantation. She'd been suffocated, and horrifyingly, pieces of paper were found in her stomach. I can still see the grief on her parents' faces, their little girl taken so cruelly. The police questioned dozens of people, even thought they had a suspect. But without proof, he walked free. To this day, Christina's murder is unsolved. It's a wound that never healed. 7. Sandra Phillips, Swansea, 1985. It was just another workday in Swansea in June 1985. When news spread, Sandra Phillips had been murdered inside the sex shop where she worked. I walked past the shop every day, never thinking such horror could happen behind those doors. She'd been raped and beaten to death. The brutality shocked everyone. 2 brothers were convicted, and for a while people thought justice had been served. But years later, DNA proved they weren't the killers. The case was thrown back into limbo. The real murderer is still out there, and whenever I pass that street, I feel the weight of Sandra's unsolved death. 8. The Pembrokeshire Murders, 1989. It was 1989. And two young couples were found murdered in West Wales. The air was heavy with fear. I remember the funerals, the sorrow in the faces of family members who couldn't understand how such violence had come to their quiet corner of the country. Years passed, we almost forgot, but the families never did. Then, decades later, police linked the killings to John Cooper. A man we'd all known, a neighbor, a fisherman, just another face in the crowd. When he was convicted, I felt relief, but also dread. For years, a murderer had walked among us, hiding in plain sight. 9. Amir Siddiqui, Cardiff, 2010. In April 2010, the Siddiqui family's screams echoed through our Roath Street. Their 17-year-old son, Amir, had been attacked in his own home. Masked men burst through the front door, stabbing him repeatedly, while his parents tried desperately to save him. The killers got it wrong. They weren't even at the right house. Amir died because of a mistake. 2 men were caught and jailed, but the one who ordered the killing was never named. I'll never forget the heartbreak of seeing a young life ended over nothing but a tragic mix-up. 10. Wendy Buckney, Clydach, 2022. I knew Wendy. She lived just down the road in Clydach. She was the kind of neighbor who'd wave at you over the garden fence. In August 2022, that all changed. She was brutally murdered by Brian Whitelock, a man already convicted of killing before. System had released him, saying he was low risk. The news of what he did to her made my blood run cold. Tortured and killed in her own home by someone who should never have been free. When he was finally sentenced to die in prison, we all knew it was too late. For Wendy, justice came only after the unthinkable had already happened. Please let us know in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is there. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories.